a conversation about. But again, it needs to be the community and the residents to make that decision. It's not the government of Northwest Territories making that decision. We know.
This is what we're going to do without letting us know.
We are getting the DAP program. We've reached it out to cabinet. Then when we come back, we will be meeting all residents that are impacted, whether it's a business or a home, and we will have these conversations with them to make a decision. So we've got ball mark.
It was very, very clear on your website. So this, because I'm going to get done, because everybody else probably has questions for you, but I need to know, you need to come back to us and let us know if this is a once in a lifetime assistance.
Yeah, so Deputy Mayor Antoine, I can guarantee you we're gonna have more than one meeting. I can guarantee you, myself or Mike Drake will be meeting with you guys on a regular basis. We are trying to make sure we meet and answer all the questions that we can moving forward, so.
Thank you. You do have a question I just gave you. You haven't really acknowledged me to say, yes, I'll get back to you and let you know if it is a one lifetime assistance.
Maybe that's something they're still working through, from what I understand.
It's in your policy.
Yeah, could be that is the policy then for now.
Well, that's not good enough. You're the minister of Malta. You should know that. That's very important information for our people to know if they're going to be built.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister, or Deputy Mayor Antoine. I thank you very much for your comments.
Okay. Now, does anybody else have any questions or clarifications they want to submit to the minister? Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. In fact, I don't have a lot of questions. Thank you, Mike Drake, for being here. Honestly, you've been amazing support to this community, and I know that they left you alone here, the territorial EMO. So, Mike, I have like few questions. They are not going to take any time. One of the issues that Minister Thompson mentioned is the $10,000. I just want to guarantee that $10,000 goes to the people, either businesses or homeowners. Is it going to be going through the bureaucratic way of getting a lot of papers, or is it going to be very easy? That's one. The second, we have to move on from the disaster we went through. We really went through a lot, and let's put whatever behind us and plan ahead on a positive way that we deal in the future with better way of dealing. Some of the homes, which I know and everyone knows that they might be total loss. Is there any possibility, or does MACA have any idea, or this plan? If there is any plan to negotiate with these homeowners on what's the alternative in the same place? If MACA is thinking of negotiating with them to reimburse them to have better places there that they could build homes at. And the other question is, our future plan should be subdivisions. So is there any idea, or is there any discussion in MACA that we might have, that might be a solution for the community, that we have to have new subdivisions? I know this is a municipality's role, but still there are going to be roads, utilities, power, whatever in these subdivisions. Is there any possibility that we should think ahead about that in the future? And the last thing, which is, it might be a very local question in regards to the reconstruction of what's existing right now, the damage, people who have damage in their properties, homes or businesses. We're gonna wait until, like, how are we gonna deal with MACA through MACA's sub office here or branch office in Fort Simpson, is in regards to construction? Are we gonna wait for the contractors of the GNWT, MACA contractors? Right now we have 3 contractors who are working, disinfecting the homes, cleaning, but that is gonna take a lot more than 3 contractors to get us ready for the next winter. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to, it would have been easier if I'd answered the question.
Ask them again, one at a
So
time.
the first one is in regards to the $1,000. And to be honest with you, if I'm wrong, I'll check the mic, but our understanding is that people reach out and ask for it. It's within 5 business days. We try to get the check into the person's bank account, so that money is there, ready to go. So that there's number one. Number two, in regards to, people's homes that may be damaged in that's some of the conversations we're looking at. Some people's homes, people in the communities, they've reached out to me, they've talked about the potential to move, which relocate. So we have those conversations. We have not said no to those things. We are looking at opportunities. That's why Melinda's here, is that we could do land swap. But the big thing is we need to be respectful, is that it might be IBA land, it might be band land, it might be the village land, it might be public land. So we need to know exactly where we're looking at it. So that conversation is there and it's available. We're looking at trying to help the people. If the home is not replaceable, then we are looking at an option there to help as well. So we are looking at the best way to help people. Our goal is to have it done by September. So those are our goals. We're working with the people. And your last question, I think I hit all three of them. But
The subdivisions.
Oh, the subdivision is something that you guys will have to decide. That there is, you as the village needs to make a decision where you guys want to do subdivisions. If there's something that Maco or Lands can do to help you guys out with the planning and stuff, we're more than willing to offer those assistance. But again, it's driven by the village on that. And then the last question, sorry.
The contractors.
Oh, okay. So the contractors right now, the contractors we have in town are about the mold abatement. That there is very much specific to them, the companies that were able to do it. They are skilled to do those things. As for the rebuild, there will be a number of options. It doesn't mean our focus is regional, territorial, or community, regional, and territorial. So if somebody wants to do it themselves, then those are the conversations we will have with the assessors. They will sign off on it. If say I want to rebuild my home, then I'm accountable for it. But I need to understand that I'm not going to be able to go to housing next year with it. So we're not pigeonholing anybody to a contractor. But again, and if I'm correct, Mike, if I'm wrong, please clarify it. But my understanding is whomever people want to get the work done, we're encouraging them to do it. But it's going to be on our assessed value that we're going to be able to provide the number to it.
Thank you. Any other counselors have questions? Counselor Simpson, oh, sorry. Yeah, and well, actually, I got a question here from Counselor McPherson.
Yeah, I know there's plans there for the residential, the business, and I'm just looking at, for an example, our historical site, at that site. I know we had an assessment done on there, but what I found was the assessor was there, we walked around with him, he did his assessing stuff, whatever. But there was no information passed to us as to, okay, this is the next step. So what we're doing is we're just going to go ahead and try to do as much as we can with some of the local resources that we have. So which category do I fall under if I wanted to, as a First Nation, want to apply for?
First Nation
For the site, for historical site.
Okay, so that question we asked.
And they said no?
No, actually, it falls into it. It falls into our business, our residents.
So the government,
It's I know it doesn't say it in our DAP,
Mhm,
but
okay.
it does fall in there. We had a conversation cabinet, and yes, it's gonna fall in there.
Yeah.
So the assessment was not given, because it's 30 pages long. We will be giving it to people, business, to the Historical Society. We will be giving that information to them. But the big thing is that we're trying to make it readable, because I have, like, it's 30 pages long, and so we're
Yeah.
trying to be able to do it. So we're going to provide that. I don't know if the 30 pages, if they really, really want it, I think we can give it.
Absolutely, but it's indecipherable. It's.
Yeah, it's all numbers and stuff. Okay. Yeah, no, as long as, like, I just wanted to make sure because, we're gonna continue using the site until the next flood, I suppose. Because, where else are we gonna go? There's no other spot around the island or anywhere that we can have a gathering like we do down at the ETA site. And it's not only the First Nations that use it, the whole entire community uses it. So I'm not speaking for just LKFM.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, and the thing is it's just making sure that,
It's safe.
yeah, it's safe and working, and we will make sure that the information's provided.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Actually, Shane, it is in your policy that the local residents, businesses, and infrastructure can request funding from you up to $100,000.
So,
So I just wanna remind you about your policy.
yeah, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Antoine. However, we've been looking at the policy, and we have made a submission to cabinet. And once that submission is approved or modified, then we will. You are correct. What the policy says on our website is that.
Okay. One more question there,
Yeah,
Councillor.
I just have a last question. I'm asking Mr. Thompson as the MLA of this community. We have always a problem of the long term and the health center. Do you guys rally or talk about having a health center to be built for the community and the long term center to be built for the community? I know a few years ago there was some money allocated for the health center, and Yellowknife got that money, which is for Fort Simpson. And then what is the plan about that? We don't have, honestly, any good, like, we have a health center here in the community, which is close to the river. Most of the communities and the towns, and even Yellowknife and small towns, they got brand new health center. And I've been talking to the people who've been evacuated, mentioned that the life of their long term Yellowknife in Norman Wells compared to Fort Simpson is 1 to 10. That we are the 1 and there is a 10. So is there any plan as MLA Thompson that you guys gonna rally for that for the community? Thank you.
Thank you. So just so we're aware that the health center is on the capital plan. The situation was it was supposed to be built right by the school there. However, after the flood, I reached out to Minister Green and said, we need to rethink that. So what's going to be happening is having that conversation, is finding a location that's in higher ground, similar to where the LNG plant is going up on top of the hill. I'm trying to work with the minister, but also the community to look at having it moved up on the hill. Once the health center is done and up and running, then the next part is the long-term care facility to enhance the beds. I would be asking or recommending that it be the same thing, but it won't be in the 19th Assembly. It's going to be, they're looking at the health center right now. And so we are looking at moving it up and having those conversations. Because leaving them where it is right now, it's kind of scary. It really scared me on where it was, the water situation and that. So We've already reached out to the health minister, and unfortunately, she will not be here on the 28th and 29th because she has some FPTs, but she's made a promise to come in and meet with the community and council to have those conversations.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Sibiston, did you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, I would say let's leave it at that. And if between now and next Monday, you have more questions, we're going to be meeting with the Premier and ministers that are coming over here, and we'll certainly have a chance to submit those questions because they're primarily coming here, well, for a cabinet meeting, but also to meet with residents. And no, that's wrong.
Okay, so yeah, so what has happened is the Yellowknife or ministers are now able to travel outside the community. Previously, during the flood, they weren't able to travel out because of the chief public health officer's directive. Didn't want anybody coming in, didn't want anybody coming out. So we've got the clear, as you've seen what's happening now. So cabinet's coming in. We are going into Jean Marie in the morning, or they're flying here going into Jean Marie. Then we're going to have a public meeting from 7 to 8 and 8 to 9. We were trying to get the gym, but I guess the gym's booked. We're looking at alternatives, whether it's the school gym or the arena itself, to have it. We would have 15 people from 7 to 8, and then another 15 people from 8 to 9 to meet with that. And then on Tuesday, cabinets meeting. We're going to take a tour of the community, and then we will have a luncheon for 2 counselors and the SAO, 2 counselors and the band manager, 2 counselors, whether it's the president or the council for the Métis and their executive director. Then we will have a meeting from 2 to 3. I think it's 2 to 3 is the village, 3 to 4 is the band, and 4 to 5 is the Métis. So we're having those opportunities to meet because of the COVID situation. So we're being very respectful with that, but we will try to have an hour meeting with each other moving forward. Thank you, Mayor Welly.
Sean, I do have something else to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much. So, Shane, Minister Thompson, I kind of felt used during the flood, where I spoke with the mayor, where he had said he wanted the sister to resign, and I definitely talked to him, said, no, that's not how we offer. But I want to apologize right now because I'm not part of that. I don't, as a Dena person, we don't ask people to resign. We definitely want to work with people. So I just want to mention to you that I did not agree with that, and I want you to know because the next question is, you are on the cabinet. Minister, in the middle of a flood, and that really disturbed me. I don't have any confidence in this government. None. It is just bizarre what you guys did. So I'm not asking you to give me an explanation of why, but I just had to make that statement. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just as a closing, and thank you very much, Minister, for coming down and taking some questions and updating us on the flood relief, where we're at, where we're going. I certainly encourage you, your submission, that it be sufficient in the funding and that it be adapted to the northern environment up here. I know, the emergency funding is kind of backed up by the federal government, and they have their policies, and often we mirror those, but in some ways, I think we should take a look at, our unique northern situation and how we can best apply the emergency funding. Certainly the deputy mayor was asking whether this be a one-time payment or not, and there's some things that we just cannot change. This island has been the home of Fort Simpson for 200 years, and it's, that is the way it is, and to call it a one-time payment would perhaps be a bit much. So, and as we look at the choices that people have, certainly encourage your department to give as much information to residents so they make the best informed choices as to how they upgrade and repair their homes, and what kind of future coverage they might have under any other emergency programs in the future. That would be important. So I appreciate your efforts thus far, and we'll meet you again on Monday.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Minister.
All right. So our next,
I just wanted to thank the minister for coming.
okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And we're moving on to item 7, adoption of minutes. We do not have any this evening. Number 8, mayor's report. I'll make it real simple. I don't have one. And SAO report. Go ahead, Kevin.
I've got nothing today unless any councillors have any questions.
Okay, do any councillors have any questions for our SAO?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Kevin, back in 2019 in our strat plan, it was identified to redo the emergency measures policy. And then again, we did it in March and again in April. And that's 2 years. Can you tell me when you're ready to start that, please? Thank you.
Well, actually, one of the things on the agenda today is an amendment of the Emergency Response and Protective Services bylaw, amendment to the fees. And as we'll get to later in the meeting, when we get to it, I'll plan to explain that the purpose of this is to hire a full-time fire chief who would also specialize in emergency services. So when that full-time position is hired, that would be the perfect time to relook at that.
No, it's 2 years outstanding, so I think you need to look at it right away. And the other question I have is that, can you tell me what the minister's office responded when you forwarded our motion requesting a review of the EMO?
I
don't know if that was what you're saying, that we requested the minister to review our EMO. Is that what you said?
We had made a motion to review the EMO on June the 7th. What that meant was that the administration would have reached out to MACA to say we need to see if there's any resources, we need assistance to do an independent review. Have you done that yet, Kevin? Thank you.
We're in the process of doing a review, and when I've got more information on that, we'll update you.
Okay, you said you're doing a review, but the motion said an independent review. So you're saying you started an independent review?
We are looking into it, and we'll update you as soon as I have more information.
Well, that doesn't sound too good, but that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Anybody else have any questions for SAO Corrigan?
I'd like to just follow up on the issue of the mass graves in Fort Simpson. And I'm just kind of, I'm concerned about the existence of such a thing. And to try to conduct business and live a normal life in light of such disturbing information is pretty much, next to nil. I mean, I don't even want to, get into the touchy subject of, who was affected and what, why, where, and when. And that is the reason why it's important to find that information out. And, our community's kind of been hurting for a long time, and I always wondered why. Why do people just, suck back 60-pounders of vodka and, and why do people just down stuff and just poison themselves? Why do they do that? I always wondered. And now I'm starting to understand why. It's because of the wrongs that have taken place and the unaccountability of those who did it to them. And I see a pattern emerging. And it's an old system. It's what you refer to as systemic racism and systemic genocide. It is the administration through the administrative bodies, including the Commissioner of the Northwest Territories office, who conducted genocide here. And if there's a resistance by the administration to request that investigation and to follow up on the abduction,
Councillor Sibiston, didn't we pass a motion saying that we support the First Nations and their attempt to identify any potential grave sites?
Can you read it back to me, what the motion was?
I don't have it in front of me, but it wasn't for us to do it. It was to support the First Nations.
Well, here's the thing, though, is I'd like to see the motion in order to confirm or deny that. Is there a motion handy?
We'll try to pull that
Just
up.
if it'll just take me a minute, Councillor.
Try to pull that up, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have it? I mean, that's the general gist of it. I don't mean to be argumentative, Councillor Sibiston.
Oh, we'll see what it says, and then we'll see how your memory is. How about that?
Yeah. Well, like I say, we're not here to really argue about that.
Well, that's why I'm here. You might not be, but that's what I'm here to do.
Okay.
You know, people, administration ignoring
Yeah.
whatever and just picking and choosing whatever stuff they want to action and what they don't want to action. That is how business has been done here, and that's how this administration, this organization has managed to screw all of the local people and out of their lifestyle and replace them with a whole bunch of people who are not from here with every benefit.
Point of order.
Put it to modern society and through the process of illegal action,
Whoa.
through ignoring the democratic process.
I have to
This is
right
the
now
breakdown. I
because
put my thumb on
Randy,
fundamental breakdown of democracy in the
I need you to
organization.
stop talking right now
The
because I have
disconnect
something to say
between the
too. I
council,
think you're being very
Our
disrespectful,
motions and the
and I think
actions
that we
of
need to
the
stop this
administration.
for a moment.
So either you guys are going to have to
Councillor Sibiston,
become accountable, or else you're going to have to stop pretending to be accountable. Because if it's just a big game, a big disguise of accountability, pretending to be accountable, and in fact not being accountable, I understand, that it's a very attractive opportunity to have authority without ever being accountable. What a bonus, hey?
Now
Win situation.
I got to interject, Councillor Sibiston. I do have the motion in front of me. It was moved by yourself and seconded by the Deputy Mayor. It says that the village advocate for an investigation to test various locations in Fort Simpson that may be mass graves related to First Nation burial.
Okay, so your memory wasn't very good, was it? And you misinterpreted the meaning and the actual spirit of the motion. And then doing so, you have performed the exact action that I was just describing, where the council authority, the democratic system, is usurped by the administration. And it's just a matter of decision. Do they want to do it or not? Right? Do I want to? Oh, what am I going to do today? Oh, do I want to write that letter? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And that's how it's going. And I get that now. So in light of that disturbing breakdown in democracy, that basically it's going to be very to give an oath and then go about the business in that way. It's one thing if you never said anything and you just go ahead and you do it. That just makes you a common
Is that a point of
cretin,
order?
right? But to give an
Hold
oath
on, Councillor
and then
Sibiston.
go ahead and do the
I
other thing.
gotta interrupt you.
That's
There's a
different.
point of order on the
If
table
the
here.
counselor does not stop, I feel that we have to censure him or hang up because it's really very disruptive. Some of the comments are condescending. It's rude. We're trying to have a meeting as adults, and I've mentioned it before that when these meetings, we are role models for people in the community, and children could be watching us. One time we had teenagers here, and this is how they're seeing adults behave. We need to be respectful, and you can't just talk over people and then when you don't get your way, walk out, which has happened before. And we need to put an end to it. It's not acceptable.
Here,
You
here.
can't.
And your concern, Councillor Sibiston, about the actions itself, but I honestly believe that our role here is to support and advocate for the First Nations to undertake this work, which the GNWT has said they will assist with as well in supporting First Nations. It's not for the village of Fort Simpson to undertake the work, it's for us to support the First Nations. I believe that's the spirit of this motion. Now, I'm not the be all and end all for interpreting motions, but that's what I took it to mean. And certainly you may have a different interpretation. But let's leave it at that for now. You've made your point, and we're going to have to
What
move
about it?
along. Sorry?
That's it? There's no action, there's no essay, there's nothing going on then? That's it, it's over? No more goodbye? Forget about that motion? Is that what's gonna happen?
We heard
Because that's
you
what's happened since it was passed. Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
But it's not okay.
we will.
I'm complaining about it. If it were okay, you wouldn't hear me complaining about it. And thank you very much for your concern about me complaining about something being wrong.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry about that. How disrespectful, right? To complain when there's something wrong. To not complain when there's something wrong. That's maybe worse.
Okay. We've heard you out. So, we're taking what you have said into consideration, Councillor.
Oh, I know. You can ignore me again now. Yeah, just like last time. And again, that's what the administration. Basically, I've lost all of the faith in the entire procedure, the entire process.
Okay. Now does anybody else have any other questions for the SAO?
Why bother?
No, that's out of order.
Leave it.
That's out of order, Councillor
Yeah.
Sibiston. Argumentative, not addressing what's in front of us here right now.
Yeah, take it or leave it. It doesn't matter anyways. You're going to do whatever you want anyhow. What does it matter what I say?
I'll be doing it by hanging up the phone. I'm asking you to cease and desist, or I'll have to ask you to leave the meeting. The only way I can do that is hang up the phone. Okay, all right. You can stay, but you've got to kind of listen to the chair. All right. Then, with no further questions, let's move on to tabled items and old business. There is none. Committee minutes and recommendations. There are none. We do have one item under 11, well, a couple. First one is tax sale. And I've got a motion moved by Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Hassan.
This is not that's for the bylaw.
Oh, sorry, I don't actually have tax.
I don't have a motion prepared for today, but I thought we'd have a brief discussion.
Okay, well, then go ahead, Councillor. All right. You got a promotion too.
Okay,
Or maybe a demotion.
so we had talked about a tax sale, or we hadn't really talked about tax sale for this year, but there has been some interest in a couple of abandoned lots in town. And the only way to actually sell them right now is through a tax sale. Now, it wouldn't be, obviously now is not exactly the ideal time to have a tax sale. It wouldn't look good to be promoting that through, after the flood. But we could have a tax sale just for those two abandoned properties. And that would give this individual that expressed an interest a chance to bid and purchase them, or anyone else. And it would also, if they didn't sell, it would also give the village an opportunity to purchase those for essentially next to nothing, seeing as the taxes owed are roughly equal to 50% of the assessed value. And so essentially we would be getting these lots for free or close to nothing. And we could then choose to clean them up, rent them out, or whatever council wishes. So that's the point of this tax sale. I don't have a motion ready today, but I thought we'd bring it up nonetheless, discuss it. And I could also add a couple of other abandoned properties to that list if council wish to move forward that way.
Mhm. How does council feel about that? Any questions? Yep.
I support it. Just in the community, it's regarding that, driving around through the community, you see some properties where their grass is cut really nice and the next door neighbor is long, so it's just, if we can start cleaning up at least some of these abandoned buildings, I think would be a big bonus for us.
Yeah, and I know we decided not to, at least administration put forth the idea that we wouldn't have a general tax sale this year because of COVID and the flood and, the stress on property tax owners that, for most individuals, this would be a chance for one more year of getting things in order. But for some of these properties, they've gone years and years of being in arrears. They're, in some cases, owned by absentee landlords that no longer reside in the community. And certainly we're left with the eyesore to look at. And if there was a way to rehabilitate them through a sale to somebody who's going to pay more attention to them, or perhaps take them over, I think there's a question as to whether a municipality can acquire a piece of tax sale property through a tax sale, but there may be steps that could be taken to get that through. That might be something to talk with MACA about, property tax law. Have we talked to the lawyer about that and whether
Yeah.
that's?
So we'll just need, before the actual tax sale, we'll just need a resolution of council authorizing the village to purchase lots.
Oh, okay. So we would be the default purchase, almost the reserve price. Okay, that's good to know. Well, knowing that then, and
I do have something to say.
yes, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah. In December, there was an application to purchase commissioner's land sent to us. At that time, I asked Kevin and Dale, just how does this fit? And are they sending it to us for approval or what? They said in that letter, they said they needed our comment and feedback. But no mention that, there is an agreement with the Dutch show right now. They have an interim land agreement. And with the LTFN, which is the territory that we're on. So how does that work? I asked you that already, Kevin, and I never got a response. So thanks.
I'm not sure what land purchase application.
Is this about the equity leases?
No,
No,
I
it's an
remember that.
application
Okay.
Okay,
to us in December last
Deputy Mayor, I remember what you are talking about. There was the individual that have the land, and we passed a resolution to buy that land because of the draining system in that on that
Okay.
lot. So I believe that's a title lot. It doesn't have anything to do with LKFN, and it doesn't have anything to do. It's not a banned land. It's a titled lot, and we decided to buy it because of the hassle that is going to come to us after we dug a trench on that individual slot. If you meant that one.
Okay, well, I think we need to tread softly on this one here. I don't want to overstep our boundaries with the Dutcho First Nations that are going through a land change.
Those-
So
they're title
I'm
title
saying
lots.
this right now, that any application for commissioner sales of land that we see, we need to be clear on the process, because I don't want to interfere with the actual process.
No, there's a very clear process that we follow on any of those kinds of applications go through the consultation process.
And I asked you what was it, but you forgot to get back to me. So can you explain to us what the process is? Thanks.
Well, we put in the paperwork through the department to the. That's their process, and I don't know what their process is in great detail. I think you'd have to. We do have the superintendent of lands here, but I don't want to put her on the spot. But I know that there's a process that they follow, and what that is, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah. But the only property we can put up for a tax sale would be title property, and that's not part of the DHO land selection process, for sure. And that would be the only lots that we're looking at, correct? SAO Corrigan?
That's correct, yeah.
Very much, Kevin.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're welcome.
All right. Are you looking for a motion to go ahead with a potential tax sale? Because I guess every 2 weeks that goes by is another
Yeah,
delay in
well, the
sale.
next regular meeting is not going to affect the date because of how it all works out. But you could just write a motion if you'd like. I'll leave that up to yourself.
Or do you want to wait until the next meeting and have the properties
let's-
actually all identified?
Let's wait and I'll
Okay.
have them. properly.
Okay, sounds good. So anyway, that's for the next meeting. All right, moving along, I've got the Emergency Response Services Agreement, which the Red Cross has proposed as a possible partnership going ahead with the Village of Fort Simpson. And in it lists a lot of the ways in which we could work together and on the terms under which we would work together. I think it would clarify how we work together. So speed up the process by which we could ask for help in the future. And we may want to actually continue to do work with them under such an agreement right now, if we see an opportunity available. So I don't know how deeply the councillors have had a chance to look at the Emergency Response Services Agreement, or if you want one of the representatives of the Red Cross to perhaps give you the Coles Notes version of what it represents. Maybe I could ask Jennifer McManus to just go over it very quickly with you, what it represents to them and us. Yes, Jennifer.
Hi. Should we move Deputy Mayor and Councillor Simmons?
Yeah, let's move
Just
you
in
a little
case.
closer.
The Kleenex box questions are very busy.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. So on behalf of the Canadian Red Cross, we're here again. Hi. We'd rather not see you guys this frequently. And Minister Thompson, thank you for having us in your riding. So to give context, across the country from coast to coast to coast, the Canadian Red Cross partners with municipalities, counties, municipal districts, hamlets, villages, cities, urban centers, service centers, all the designations of municipalities. And from our perspective, because the jurisdictional protocols are, it is you folks and SAO Kevin to call emergencies at the local level, to make those EMO decisions, and then to liaise with the territorial government. We're offering to journey alongside of the Village of Fort Simpson in a service agreement so that we have activation, capacity building protocols, activation protocols, and all of those details worked out in advance should a crisis or a disruptive event occur. In addition, it also allows the Canadian Red Cross to build our capacity to be able to support you as councillors, mayor, and SAO in the region should a defined disruptive event happen. It also allows us to then liaise with the territorial government in other jurisdictions if we're activated at a municipal level. We also then have the ability, we're in the Government of Canada's Emergency Operations Centre. We're often at the seat in emergency operations centers in other jurisdictions, provinces, and territories. And it allows for faster coordination. And for us to be bench strength, quite frankly, lets the village lead, and we are alongside to assist. So the service agreement that you have is actually a wide, broad template. And my suggestion, if the motion is made and Mayor, you'd like to proceed, that we have a discussion about what Schedule A looks like in regards to actual service provision, because every municipality is different. And so we want to harness the capacities and assets for the village and the whole community, not duplicate expertise that you have here at the municipal level, but also to be well articulate in what we could do together. However, knowing that that can change because situations, climate change, we're seeing events overlap, protracted timelines, more people impacted. On the other side, and you guys, I just want to acknowledge the tremendous work that the village has done, along with DCFN, LKFN, the Métis Nation, the not-for-profit sector. You've also hosted. So this is also if you're in a situation whereby Fort Simpson is hosting other community members as a receiving community in an event. So that's the Coles notes of Red Cross service agreements.
Yeah, and I know it's very general. It covers a lot of different possible services that could be provided. As you say, you're here to support and fill in gaps.
Correct.
I think we'd acknowledge that if you had been here when the tent city was up and around, we certainly probably could have utilized your services interacting with the people in the camp, as well as perhaps our own evacuees in Fort Smith. Families were separated. There was kind of some communication issues and concerns about how they were being treated and whether they were receiving all the correct care. You know, the health department here was stretched just simply by having to attend to people, vulnerable people that they were taking out of the community themselves. And there was a time there where I think it would have been very nice to have had your organization here. Humanitarian needs being met. You know, that's just one example in my mind of how your organization could have helped in a way that we just weren't able to quite do ourselves. There's always a role and always a chance for extra help. I think, you know, I have a couple questions.
Oh, yeah, for
Maybe
sure.
one is, just so people are clear, I guess, that there are costs, as with anything, and the Red Cross has to expend money to do things, and they have only a couple of ways of getting that money, and they can raise it through like an emergency awareness call to the public, or they get it costs reimbursed through various forms of government that are addressing the needs of the emergency.
Correct.
That's written into the agreement. Otherwise, your organization just would cease to exist. I mean, you need to be funded. So there is that. And there's also an annual contribution amount I notice in the agreement, and that's perhaps a show of commitment by our organization that, you know, certainly your organization has administrative needs that you're available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and that needs to be supported as well, so that when we make the call, there's actually people on hand and available to come see us. So
Correct.
maybe you could give us an idea of what, you know, typically a contribution amount like that might look like. I see it written in here. I also, you know, costs and how you define costs, like is it, and perhaps just a little discussion on that, so we're a little better aware what we're getting into.
Yep, I agree, Mayor, for sure. So a couple of just comments on the evacuation situation. One of the roles we play internationally and in Canada is family reunification. So hoping and connecting families with each other when they're separated during an evacuation. We can geomap where they are. We can register them in our emergency response information system, which also has case management capacity. And it also has the ability to do electronic funds transfer or direct aid assistance to those who are registered. It also gives real-time situational awareness and data on a situation that could be fluid and evolving, obviously by hour, to a municipality or a partner. And we would never activate any of our services without speaking with our municipal partner and then talking about costs. So from a contribution agreement perspective, Mayor, really given what Fort Simpson has been through COVID-19, I think talking with the SAO, we can come up with a very reasonable contribution, probably under $5,000 per annum at this point, just to make sure that we have our team ready to be activated, both virtually and boots on the ground. One of the things that I would like to envision for Fort Simpson is a volunteer base here, knowing that people are also interoperably taking on roles with rangers, for example, or volunteer firefighters. So just having a conversation about capacity, but also capacity in the region, not just Fort Simpson. And really it's looking at what would the activation services be, and then we can cost them out for you. I can tell you that in working with municipalities across Alberta, for example, and I'm sorry that Alberta has pushed everybody's insurance premiums up, that we are one of the most cost-effective organizations to partner with, given our capacity, our workforce, the investment from the Government of Canada. So I'll be meeting with MP McLeod actually to thank him for the Government of Canada's capacity building in the Red Cross during COVID-19. And really, we'd have an honest, transparent conversation about what the service agreement would look like and costing and budgets. But again, unless we were asked by your emergency response incident command structure.
Okay. And nothing in this agreement binds us irrevocably to something.
No, it's for us to be at the table, Mayor, with each other so that we are sharing best practices, we're sharing situational awareness, a form of advance notice of rivers rising allows us to then be on standby to monitor and to be alongside of the municipality. It also allows us to coordinate nationally with our team as events start to overlap. And I can be truthful that we are seeing protracted events happening across jurisdictions all at the same time and high needs. So the more we can journey together and prepare, the better. And then, of course, being very aware of not putting strain on your municipality when an event is unfolding, and then liaising and coordinating and partnering with you. And ultimately your partners, which are the EMO at the territorial level, other, United Way and Yellowknife. And whenever we can raise funds for an event, we want to be at the table asking Canadians to support communities. And we have been very successful raising money.
And I know that, for the councillors, they should be thinking that this disaster recovery process is underway, but we're very early in it, and there could be opportunities even just to filling out forms. I mean, when I hear that some people are declining to fill in forms because they were only minorly affected, I still wonder, well, why wouldn't they take the time to at least fill that form in? And if too many people start to think that way, we as a community lose out, and people, lose the chance, because there's deadlines to these kinds of things. I mean, government has to follow some kind of schedule, and it's up to communities and people to file claims, basically. But we can assist, and organizations like Red Cross are available to on a case management basis sort of help with individuals applying for things like this. So that's something to think about. Under the terms of an agreement like that, we could activate them, and they could have staff here that help. Perhaps talking to the First Nation, that might be something that is required here. We know that we're stretched for our own capacity to deal with these things, and even the government itself sometimes is unable to reach out in ways that an organization like Red Cross with its reputation behind it can do, and much more approachable perhaps, and can get the job done. So, those are things to think about. I know that the First Nation invited them here. They took the time to come here. They've been here for a while. They understand the way the community works and the situation that we went through. I'd hate to see that go to waste, we sort of take a stubborn attitude that, well, we can do it all ourselves. If we honestly look at it, I think there are things that we could perhaps get them to assist with. And certainly we want to be in a position where next year they're available, and we're ready to get them to come here much quicker. Yes.
Can I
Penny.
say, Mayor Welly, I think it's really important that next year, if that's the case, it might look very, very different. So part of working with our team is that we're very aware that no disaster is ever the same as the next disaster. And so when you see those services, think of them as kind of a menu that when you do call on us, that you're going to choose from that menu. You know that we will help you to understand what that menu actually means and what it means for your citizens. And then at the time of that particular response, that you need Red Cross to do this, and this from the menu. Kind of like the panda. You get to choose.
Yeah, and I know we put our own volunteers and village staff through a lot. I mean, we were even noting the fact that we had done that to our own staff, perhaps because we had no other choice. But now we realize we may actually have other choices in the next emergency. So I think we got to be thinking about that pretty closely. And yes, Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, ladies. And I've been working all over the world all my life. This is how it works. We don't have to. Thank you for being here, honestly. And usually in the world, the Red Cross and the ICRC and the Federation, which is the Society of the Red Cross and the Red Crescent in the world, they've been working. And the good thing on them that they don't have the veto. All the countries for them is the same. They are not like the UN. And since I believe the World War I until now, their history is very clean, and that's how it works. When they deal with the government, they deal with governments. They deal with like in war zones. And I've seen Red Cross and I've seen the Red Crescent people. They're really being supportive, and they work in tracing people and finding people, missing people, and family reunification. And for them to come here and just and offer us their help, which is very easy, which is honestly, it's not going to be anything 5,000 contribute to be a member that have the price for their response. If something happened, that is nothing for us. We give $5,000 to NAC every year. It doesn't make any sense. So, and this agreement is exactly the typical generic agreement they sign all over the world with everyone. And I compared it with other agreements, tripartite agreements and bilateral agreements with the other places. And that's how it is. Let us move on. I believe here we just move a motion and let the SAO sign an agreement, sign the MOU or the emergency response service agreement with them. And for the contribution, it's not a big deal. We can have the $5,000 or $10,000 contribution from the community here, and they will be here next year. And I bet you they will be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cindy, would you like to? Yes,
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
I would like to move that motion, and I'm not sure if the Red Cross is going to deal with the municipality only because they were invited by the First Nation. Would they include that wording in their contract to include the First Nations? Thank you.
Right? Could we see wording to the effect that you'd be working with both entities, perhaps through the village, but in partnership with the First Nations here? Because we'd expect they'd be closely working with us.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
there'd have to be some kind of acknowledgement of that in this document.
yeah, we can, honestly, Mayor Welly, we can discuss, I mean, from our perspective, when you can amplify and articulate all of the partners that are essential in a complex response, that is the best. And I hope we can practice together. So SAO Kevin, wondering if we could look to, if we actually cross this threshold, it would be great for us to have a local exercise. Because we also know from our experience, also with provinces and territories, when we can be practicing our interactions and interoperability with each other, that is the winning combination. So we are at national Government of Canada exercises when we deploy our field hospitals. We're in provinces and territories when they have their exercises with their EMOs. And Mayor Thompson, we'd love to be in possibly yours. Sorry, Minister, I was changing your title. Because when we're all in it together, yes, it can be chaotic, and yes, it's agility, but it also is best to know each other before. No question. And so to your point, Mayor Welly, absolutely, this is where we would work with you as the lead municipality to frame what does this agreement look like on behalf of a whole community approach. There are municipalities that name specific private company entities or partnerships with other not-for-profits or the charitable sector. So this we can work together on.
Okay, I still have a motion on the floor, right?
Yeah.
There's no motion.
Okay, well, I just took the liberty to write one out here. See if you want to amend it or add to it. I wrote that the village sign the Emergency Response Services Agreement with the Canadian Red Cross Society and make an annual financial support payment to the Canadian Red Cross Society in an amount not to exceed $5,000.
Should the motion, should we reach out and put First Nations on that motion, Sean, just as per protocol? Thank you.
Yes,
Can I make a suggestion?
go ahead.
Can I suggest that we first finalize the agreement? And then maybe the next meeting we'll pass a motion to sign the finalized agreement.
Excuse me. No, I think we should just pass the motion and you sit with the Red Cross and decide what kind of agreement, because we already agreed on it. So why are we delaying it? Why are we waiting for another motion? Those people have other things to do. They will go back. So let us finish this issue right away. And as you guys mentioned, the LKFN, we cannot also ignore the Métis. So it should be added on that agreement. That's why I said, usually, I don't know. I agree with Deputy Mayor Antoine that we include the LKFN and or the First Nation that they invited them to come here, but it doesn't mean that they own them. So whoever can sign an agreement with them, if they are doctors, the health center can sign an agreement with them. The LKFN can sign the same agreement with them. Otherwise, it's going to be a 3 parties agreement or 4 parties agreement, and that's going to take us to the same bush of the bureaucracy. Oh, someone has an idea, MAT guys come and, honestly, they signed the agreement with municipalities. Let us sign the agreement with them. They can sign the agreement with the LKFN, and it's at the end of the day, we are all in the same place.
Why would I sign an agreement I haven't read? Is there going to be a copy distributed of this
Oh,
MOU?
you didn't get a copy?
Nope.
Okay, we will send you a copy.
Okay, and then maybe still a chance to read it would be nice, right?
Still, you are
Has it
one.
been sitting on it for a while or what?
Still,
You've had a chance to read it, and
yeah,
I haven't.
you can vote against it.
Oh, I don't want to vote against it. I'm just saying I just like to read it before I sign it.
Okay,
It's
it's
pretty standard, straightforward.
it's very okay. I'll email it to you and
Oh, thank you.
thank you.
You could abstain
Well,
too.
you know, rather than have three separate agreements, why don't we just say all government bodies within the community of Fort Simpson?
Okay.
I look at this as starting something to work with Red Cross. I really like it. I want to move that motion, and it's going to be a document in progress. It's going to be, you know, a working document. So let's just pass the motion and pass it on to the chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I could add the wording,
A little bit of support to help you with your wording.
yeah.
Without, you know, at the header doesn't necessarily, until you determine as a municipality, the header doesn't have to include your partner bodies. So you don't have, your header does not have to include the nation or the Métis. That can be inclusive within the body of the and so you can read your motion to be open for what that looks like. And then this agreement will take us some time to talk about what's going to be best for your community. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. We're going to work with that CAO over there who's going, oh my gosh, what's going on? It's all going to be good. So we're going to be with you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere,
Yeah, we're not
but we
going
are
anywhere.
going to,
You know what?
Fort
It's
Providence
beautiful.
tonight.
This beautiful village has got us covered. So yeah, we're all been crying because we're leaving. So.
Thank you.
In order, I would like to pass that motion. I think we need a seconder and to vote on it. Thank you.
I'll second.
And just so that I do take into account Deputy Mayor's suggestion and local governments in addressing and recovery efforts, meaning and local partner governments or governments in partnership and indigenous local governments. I could add that. In addressing emergencies and recovery efforts so that it's not just the village.
It's just LKF and Métis.
There's only
I don't know
two.
what other
Yeah.
indigenous organizations you're talking about. But anyways, thank you for that. I want to thank the Red Cross. I can't see you, but also just to let you know that the girls that are there from Red Cross, that Fort Simpson is the hub of the region. So we want to be very careful with how we set up our emergency measures plan. And on top of that, we also want to look at a recovery plan. So that'd be two different policies, I guess. But we have to remember we're the hub of the region, so we can also be able to maybe reach out to the regions if we need immediate help. Thank you so much, and have a good trip back home.
Before you go, you need to vote on your motion.
Yeah, don't do that. All right, so I changed it to the purpose at the end, the last paragraph. Support all residents, including the Lidliquay First Nation and Métis organizations in addressing emergencies and recovery efforts, just so that it's representative of all.
They're not organizations, they're governments. Thank you.
Okay. Governments.
Can I just object to the whole Métis government thing, because there has not been an election there for a long time, and
So this is
everybody
what we're gonna
knows
get
that
into,
it's pretty much a gambling club.
Why don't I just strike the whole last sentence, include some kind of wording in there as to the inclusiveness of the agreement to represent all residents here.
For so many months to communicate so specifically such important features of democracy, that how they relate to the oaths that we've given to be occupying these positions in this country, where the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is the guiding central
Okay, I just want to keep on the issue, the motion at hand here. I've actually just struck that last paragraph altogether. I think the intent is clear, what we're trying to do, which is to sign an agreement. The mover and the seconder, are they okay with that change?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so any further discussion on the motion in front of us this evening? I'll read it again, that the village sign the Emergency Response Services Agreement with the Canadian Red Cross Society and make an annual financial support payment to the Canadian Red Cross in an amount not to exceed $5,000.
I'll call question.
Okay, with that, I'd like to see a show of hands, those in support of 1, 2, 3. Councillor Sibiston,
May I abstain, please?
abstain?
Respectfully.
Yes, no problem. I understand you haven't had a chance to read it. And Deputy Mayor?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's 4 in favor, 1 abstention. And the motion is passed. We'll leave it up to the administration to work out the exact wording there and, yeah, present it for signing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks.
Have a good
Jennifer.
trip.
Thanks, thank you.
Thank you.
You and I will be in touch,
Sounds good.
okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're
Thank
on the
you.
highway now.
Oh,
We're heading down the road. So
Okay.
thank
Oh, really?
you all.
sorry to hold you up so long
No,
here.
it's, no,
You've been
this
more
is,
than
it was
generous
a
with your
it was a
time.
last minute decision. We're going to Providence tonight.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, really, thank you. It's been a good to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mayor. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very
And
much.
Kevin, be in touch? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, my
Safe-
best friend.
safe trip.
Yeah, okay. We'll be in touch.
Yes,
Okay, I'm gonna definitely get in touch with Kevin, okay?
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
I'm giving you a hug.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, all right, so with that, the Red Cross ladies are leaving here and moving along to item 11C, which is the MOU, the First Nations MOU. Deputy Mayor, did you want to speak to that?
Should we take a break?
What time we got here?
37.
You can take a break.
8:37, okay. Listen, you guys have been on the phone for quite a while. Let's give it a 5-minute break here, okay? All right, meet you back here in 5 minutes.
We'll keep the camera running.
Okay,
Camera's running.
okay. Put a little bag over it. Right. Okay.
Kevin, do you have a copy of that MOU? I
The
tried
one
to.
that was be sent before?
Because I tried to find it on my, Maud sent it to me, but I don't know what I did with
Did
it.
you just, you can have this one for now.
It's not